Right, we're going to look at ergonomics and recap what we learned in class, gosh, a good few months ago now. An ergonomic product is a product which is easy to use. It's also safe and it's comfortable to use as well. And ergonomics is a description of the activity that designers do to make these products easy, safe and comfortable. Because if somebody using the product, if a user feels uncomfortable or confused or stressed or anxious about using something, then that has a negative effect on the user, and the product is not ergonomic. An ergonomic product is something that we feel satisfied using. It's easy, it's simple, it's not confusing. It rewards us with a nice feeling that things are working as they should be. And it's a big topic, so we split it into three areas: Anthropometrics, Physiology and Psychology. And to be truly a master of ergonomics, you have to be able to understand and apply these three areas to product design. Okay, so Anthropometrics, let's start with that first of all. That's all about the size and the shape of humans. That's all it is, just how our sizes and our dimensions and things like that. So some examples of anthropometric data are things like how long our arms are, how wide our hands are, our waist heights, the distance between our eyes, our weights, the number of teeth that we have, the size of our bottom, etc., etc. And these are all important sizes for people who may be designing bicycles or spectacles or exercise machines or anything like that. Okay, so anything to do with the size of humans is what we're talking about when we talk about anthropometrics. And something like that dentist chair right there, an ergonomicist or a product designer had to have been all over anthropometrics in order to design that dentist chair. The blue part of it would have to fit most humans, right? We've got armrests that have to exactly match the length of humans' arms, and that's all humans. That's even wee tiny ones and big giant ones. There are handles to be reached, switches to be pulled, hoses that have to be long enough to reach from the feet to the mouth, a foot pedal that has to be big enough for a person's foot, the dentist's foot, etc., etc. So the size and the shape of humans has influenced dozens of aspects of that dentist chair. Now, when you're answering questions about anthropometrics, as you may well be asked to do, it's important that you link the part of the design with a part of the human body. Those two things have to be present in your answer. So you have to say, the size of the pedal has been influenced by the size of the human's foot. We've mentioned the pedal, we've mentioned the foot. You have to mention the part of the thing and the part of the body that you're talking about with anthropometrics. Let's move on. Physiology is related to anthropometrics, but it's slightly different. It's the study of physical mechanisms of the human body, right? And that is things such as how strong we are, how we move, how tired we get, how much effort we have to put into things, our stamina, our coordination, our reflexes, and strain that we can put ourselves under. So this is all to do with how strong we are, how bendy we are, how quickly we tire, things like that, okay? So, and we looked at the suitcase in class and asked you how have physiological considerations influenced the ergonomics of this suitcase. So you've got to think about human strength. You've got to think about how easy it is to press buttons. I'm sure you'll have used the light switches in classroom and school here. They're awful physiologically. It takes a lot of effort to push the buttons, and therefore they're not that satisfying to use. So that suitcase will have buttons on it. It will have a little unlocking button that will allow the handle to slide up. But you'll find that physiologically that handle will slide up quite easily, because they've had to take into account human strength to lift the handles. Physiological concerns have influenced how easily the wheels roll. Yeah? Or how heavy the suitcase is, what materials they've chosen it to be made from so that we can physically lug it around an airport or something like that. So the designers had to consider all these human aspects to do with physiology in order to design that suitcase. And as a wee bonus question, I asked you if you could think of any products that are deliberately difficult for humans to physiologically manipulate back in class. And from memory, you guys gave me a load of security Products, things that were deliberately difficult to pull apart or unlock or stretch and things like that. I think of the little safety caps that are on medicine bottles. Those are made deliberately difficult so that you can't get into them. Psychology, the third and final area of ergonomics, is a whole different beast entirely. Yeah. Really difficult for us to master and get under the skin of. Okay? But psychology is the study of the mental processes of humans, basically how we think and how we behave and how we feel about things. Because as humans, we need to be reassured that what we expect to happen is actually happening. Because we like products to do the things that we thought they were going to do. We don't like surprises. In fact, we take a lot of pleasure and we take a lot of satisfaction from products that meet or exceed our expectations. And some examples of psychology in design is when you take a picture on your phone, the camera clicks, it makes a fake shutter noise. Now, there's no shutter in a phone camera. Why does it do that? It does that to reassure you psychologically that things are happening. Also, you'll notice that pens, when you put a pen lid on, especially things like markers, they make a nice click when you do that. And again, that's to reassure you. That's to appeal to that part of your brain that worries if the pen lid is on or not. Things have got small lights to tell us that things are switched on. Our car will beep at us if we leave the keys in it. Right? And we also talked, in fact, we'll come on to it in a minute, we also talked about the smooth motion of a lift as well. Right? And that was the class activity that we did. We talked about a journey in a glass lift. And I chose this as a class activity because psychology is a difficult thing to get our heads around. Using a lift inside a building should be utterly terrifying. You're stepping onto a moving platform designed by somebody who you don't know, and it's sort of on the face of it promising to lift you right high up in the sky and not break down. It should be terrifying, and yet most of us use lifts without thinking twice about it. And that's because the designers have done a psychological job on us. They've really gone to great lengths to reassure us that things are going to be fine, right? Now, if you're asked to psychologically analyse something, you use your senses. You write about it using your senses. So when you step into a lift, what do you see? What do you smell? What do you hear? What is being used to reassure you that things are going to be okay? Some lifts have windows on them. All right, that's good for reassuring that things are happening fine, that you're going up or down, but it's not good for vertigo. It's not good for things like that. Okay, so well, there's the words coming up right now. Okay, a lift, when we go up it, is nice and quiet. It's serene. Yeah, it's not, when a lift moves, it's not the horrendous noise of a motor grinding and squeaking and squealing, okay, because that would stress us out. So the sound of a lift moving is nice and calming for us. You think about all the sounds that the buttons make, the gentle ping-pongs and bings and the voices that talk to you and tell you what floor you're on. They're all without a sense of urgency. They're all psychologically designed to reassure you and calm you down. Things that you touch inside lifts are deliberate. Okay, when you press buttons, it's a gentle touch. They yield quickly. Things like that. Nothing, again, is grinding or difficult to press. Lifts tend to be made of high-quality materials. They smell good. We're going through the senses here. They smell good. You don't get the smell of burning oil or smoke or anything like that. Okay, so when you're asked to psychologically analyse something, it's useful to approach that question by going through and thinking about our senses. How has the designer played around with our senses in order to reassure us that the product is doing what we expect it to do? Now, I'm not expecting you to go through this slide again, but as an example of something that we did in class, we looked at a scooter, and I asked you to describe how ergonomics has influenced the design of this scooter. And the important thing here are the purple words along the bottom. Those were kind of helper words. These are all things to do with physiology, anthropometrics, or psychology. So hopefully that was a useful little recap of ergonomics, and you can refer to this again when you're revising and studying.